Good morning. Welcome to Active Life and Fusion. We're doing yoga this morning with me. My name's Nikki, and I'm just trying to warm up a little bit. It's a little bit cool in the studio this morning, so my toes are feeling a bit cool. Hope you're doing okay where you are. I know the weather's turned a bit rubbish. I think it's supposed to be a bit sunny in the rest of the country, but certainly down here in the south, it's wet. Nice Scottish word we used to use was dreich. So a bit drizzly on and off, and they have forecast a bit of snow and sleet, but I haven't seen any of that yet this morning. We have had a bit of that around here, but I think you've got snow up north, haven't you? So lucky you, because I'd like a bit of that for my swims. I'm still swimming in the sea currently, not too cold. I like to do a bit of that all year round. Do say hi if you've logged on already. We've got a few minutes yet until we go live with the classes. And today you won't need any extra bits of kit really, apart from if you've got bricks and blocks. If you're a little bit stiffer, they would be useful potentially for some of the postures that we do. If you're very stiff, they're going to be too low anyway, so we just work on moving the core. Oh, some people coming on now. So hi Natasha, morning Sarah, good morning. Nice to see a few familiar faces. Oh, and we've got more people watching as well. Do say hi or give me a little like so I know that you're there. I tend to forget to look at how many people are watching live, but do remember that you can watch this back later if you're... Oh, someone else. Who's that? Oh, Maria. Good morning. So, yes, don't forget to subscribe. There's a little button just, I think it's on this side below, where you can say subscribe. I'm here every week at 10 o'clock for the hour, and each week we're looking at a different theme. If you're not familiar with my classes, then that's what I tend to do, is look at a particular theme. This week we're looking at standing postures. Okay, and you might think, well, you know, that's relatively easy, but standing postures are going to be using quite a lot of the core potentially, and of course it's working into the feet, and we're going to be looking at all of that once everybody's logging on. Okay, morning Carly, hi. And yeah, so it's going to be working the legs quite hard today. Now, if you've got any little injuries, little niggles, you know, if I'm holding postures too long for you, don't wait for me to say take a rest. Then you rest whenever you need to. Listening to your body all the time is key. I've got a little bit of a dodgy hamstring on this side. It's been going on a few months now, so I'm looking after that and maybe not pushing myself so hard on this side because it doesn't allow. So that could be the same for you. Even if your flexibility is relatively good, we all get these little niggles every now and again. So it's just listening to your body every day can be different. I will be giving modifications for those that are less flexible, a different proportion, all of that sort of thing. Really important. You know, we're all individual, and so should be your practice. That's really what I try and get across in my classes. There's no, you know, one type fits all sort of idea. I don't believe that at all. So it's really just taking care of the positioning of your body, and I'll tell you about all of that as we go along. Good morning. A few more people joining. That's lovely. Miriam, hello. So, yes, we're doing standing postures today, and we're going to start off, as always, down on the mat doing our warm-up. Definitely need that this morning because my toes are feeling a bit chilly in here. And then we'll progress on to doing some stretches that will help us towards our standing work. Okay, so if you want to get your mat into a good place and then coming down to the mat, first thing to do is check that you've got enough room to stretch out over the head, maybe to the sides as well. So you're not going to kick anything, not going to bash yourself on anything. And then just relax the arms down a little away from the sides of your body. Bit of a gap between the legs. If you can't have the legs flat to start with, then feel free to bend the knees and just focusing on the breath. As always, that's the important bit. Releasing into the exhalations. And just allowing the heart rate to settle. So you might have had a busy morning already. So just allowing for that natural pause between each breath. If you're new to yoga, that sometimes seems a bit of an odd thing to say, but we don't just breathe in, breathe out. There is that natural pause, a change over position with the diaphragm. And the deeper the breath out, the better the breath in the next time. And this helps to settle the heart rate, lowers the blood pressure, and allows you to get more oxygen into the lungs because you've got more space. And then ready for an easy stretch. So as you breathe in, lifting the arms up towards the ceiling, exhaling them over the head. Bring the legs together, and then take a deep breath in, point the toes, tighten the buttocks, stretching into your fingertips, and softening as you breathe out. Second stretch when you're ready, flexing the feet, so really pushing away into the heels, lengthen through the whole body as you stretch behind, again releasing. And then you can bring the arms down, bending the knees, and then hugging the knees up to the chest, little rock, side to side, knees apart. And slipping off any socks. Definitely no socks when we're doing the standing work so you don't slip. And then take the feet down, big gap between the feet, arms wide, palms upward. Take a breath in, and as you breathe out, slowly drop the knees over to the right. Let the legs feel heavy, turning your head to the left. So you may feel a bit of a stretch on this side along the left thigh and into the hip. I tend to do this same warm-up every time, so we can just relax straight away because we're familiar with the exercises. On the inhalation, back to center, and then repeating other side. Inhaling center, sliding the left leg flat, and then bring the right knee into the chest. So we're taking the knee out to the right side and stretching out the leg if we can. Flex the foot if you're very loose, or we can just keep it soft with a bent knee. And then we're circling the leg. Big circles if we can, 3 each way. Brings a nice bit of stretch into the leg. Lubricates the joint. When you've done 3 each way with that leg, give it a wriggle out. And then we're doing the same on the other side. Give both legs a wriggle, and then resting with the soles of the feet together, knees dropping open, Supta Baddha Konasana. Now, if that's uncomfortable for the hips, then you could slide the feet further away or support on the outer edges with pillows or blocks. Take the arms wide. Deep breaths. If you want a bit of an extra stretch, slide the arms closer to the head if you can. Relax the arms fully on the floor though. And then just breathe nice and deeply. This deepens the breath because we're opening out between the ribs. So it's good practice for later when we've got the arms elevated to get that stretch into the upper back, shoulders, and the diaphragm. We're working that harder if you've got the arms higher. Keep squeezing the abdomen down towards the spine each exhalation. This really pushes out the air. And then you get a nice deep breath in the next time. Next exhalation, sliding the feet away along the mat. Get the feet a wriggle out. And then we're going to hug the knees back up to the chest. So knees together now. Definitely together. If you like to use a block between the knees to bring awareness to keeping the knees together, then you can do that. Take the arms wide, palms upward. Take a breath in, and as you breathe out, take both knees to the right, really tucking the knees up towards the arm, and hold above the floor if you get all the way down as well. Inhale, we're coming back. Exhaling, other side. On one side may feel very different to the other. Exhale as you twist. Returning with the inhalation. Keep it going. If it's very easy, you could turn the head opposite side to the knees. Bit of extra stretch. Next time the knees go to the left, make that your last one. When you're back to center, placing the feet down onto the mat. Nice gap between the feet, and then bring your hands to your abdomen so you can feel the position of your pelvis while we do some pelvic tilts. So I've got my elbows resting on the floor and my hands just at the front of the hip bones, really, where you can feel there. And then take a nice deep breath in, and as I breathe out, I'm squeezing the abs towards the spine. Press the small of the back toward the floor. So you feel the top of the pelvis tip back. On the inhalation, you start to press the tailbone down, and the lower back arches slightly. Okay, continue, follow your breath. Exhale, we're squeezing through the abs. Small of the back going flatter. Inhale, little arch, doesn't have to be too dramatic. So we're just feeling the tip backward and forward of the pelvis. So when we talk about anterior and posterior tilt, we're talking in relation to the top of the pelvis. So posterior or posterior is when it goes behind, so backward. And then anterior when the top of the pelvis tips forward. Few more each way. It just helps to loosen off into the back and get you used to working the internal muscles, particularly pelvic floor, lower abs. And each time you squeeze those lower abs, it stimulates multifity in the lower back. Next, posterior tilt. So on the exhalation, make that the last one. And then just resting at neutral. And breathe normally. Very good. Okay, so rolling onto your side and coming up to sitting. So as I mentioned, this week we're looking at standing poses, and we're going to be doing some stretches to try and help us get into just the right position. Often with standing postures, I find that people think that they are amongst the easier poses to do, which in some ways they are. You know, we don't necessarily have to come down to the floor, but it's very easy then to be misaligned because we're not thinking about what we're doing with the spine and certain aspects of some poses. So if you want to come up to standing, I just want to be standing on the mat to start off with in Tadasana. So Tadasana is mountain pose. And you could think it's just a standing pose, which it is, but there's a lot going on still. We want to think mainly about the feet to start off with. So with any sort of standing work, we need to think about how grounded we are onto the floor. Now you can see that I've got 2 mats here because I'm working on a hard floor, and also because I like to turn sideways, and I can show you to camera using the purple mat. If you've got more than 1 mat when we're doing standing work, sometimes it can be a bit too squashy underfoot if you're not so stable. So better that you work just with 1 mat. If you're on the carpet, then sometimes the mats tend to move a little bit. So just to be aware of that, you're not going to trip, or it's not going to slide. Okay. So if you look at your feet, you want to have the feet just a tiny bit apart like I've got here. If it's more comfortable to stand slightly wider, because it depends on your frame as well, then you can. But we don't want the feet wider than the hips. Now, I'm not talking about the outer part of the hip. If we think about where the hip bones are, we're talking about inner hip here. That's the width apart with the feet, sort of maximum. So bringing your feet under your hip bones is better. Okay, and then we're spreading out the toes. Now, for people that have issues with the feet, could be bunions, previously broken toes like me, or any sort of weaknesses into the feet, then the standing work is really good for working the feet, but you just got to be aware of what you're doing. So we're trying to spread the foot as much as we can. Because when we're doing our standing work, if we start gripping with the toes, it's actually counterintuitive and it lifts the sole of the foot. So just try that for yourself now. Grip with your toes, and you can feel that it really pulls the sole of the foot away from the floor, and that can make you feel very wobbly. So if we lift the toes all up from the mat, be careful, because as we lift the big toe, it can affect the balance. And then we're spreading toes out and placing them down as much as you can. Okay, so we're going to warm up the toes a little bit now, and the arches in the feet. So again, be careful of the balance. We want to try and lift all the toes up from the mat. Feel free to look at your feet if you need to, but try not to stick your bottom back and lean forward. Okay, placing big toe only down onto the mat if we can. Very good. And then lifting up. Don't worry if it won't comply. And then little toe only down onto the mat, so you can feel that you're working your feet. Good, good. And then lifting up, and then going from the big toe across to the little toe. Morning, Emma. Okay, a few times, as if you're tapping the toes on the table. Or on the floor, I should say, as if you're drumming your fingers on a table. I don't want you standing on a table. Good, and then try the other way, little toe to big toe. Those that come to my classes regularly, we're used to doing this, and it sometimes works. If your feet are cold as well, they sometimes don't want to comply. And obviously we're working the nerves, the muscles, the joints, and because the toes are furthest away from your brain, sometimes things get lost in the journey. Good, and then relax all the toes down. Okay, now lifting up just the big toes. Well done. Might wave at you a little bit, and then relax the toes down. Good. Give a little wriggle out with the feet. Excellent. Just paddle out through the legs, just warming up a little bit. Okay, now we're going to come towards the back of your mat. So I'm just going to do this towards camera so that you can see what I'm doing. Now, we're just trying to get some stability going through the core, some work into the feet. So imagine your thighs are glued together. Now, I'm not blessed with a thigh gap. You might be. So if you can't get your thighs together, then just think about the knees being in line. Okay, and we're going to rise onto the balls of the feet. Now, we're going to walk towards the front of the mat, just on the balls of the feet. Looks a bit comical. And then we're walking back. I bet you're glad I can't see you. Think yourself lucky you're not going to be on YouTube to thousands. Okay, and then bring the heels down. Now we're lifting up the toes and walking just onto the heels if we can. So it gives a little bit, if you notice the hips moving side to side as we do this. Okay, so just warming the body up. If you're doing this with the kids, I'm sure they're thinking this is hilarious. Okay, and then outer edges of the feet. and it really starts to lift the hips. So it starts to work muscles into the back and the sides. Keep breathing. Don't worry if you're going slower or faster than me. And then inner edges. This is the really tricky one, a bit like a penguin. Just right for this weather. And then coming back. Good. And then once you've reached the back of the mat, just standing nice and tall. And maybe you can feel already how hard the legs are working. Everything is working. Okay, bring the hands together, prayer position, heart center. I'm just coming forward a bit so you can see me better. So we're going to rise onto the balls of the feet, breathing in. Don't worry about wobbling. And exhale, we're coming down a few times. Good. I can see more people saying hello, but because I'm a bit short-sighted and I haven't got my reading glasses on, I can't see everybody's name. So hello. Last couple. And then take a rest. Well done. Excellent. Okay. So now we're going to start in the center of the mat. I'm just going to move my mat slightly, actually. Starting in the center of the mat, we're going to take a nice wide apart, stride apart with the feet. Okay. Now, for those that don't know me in person, I'm quite short. So this is probably the minimum distance, I'd say, for those watching. Okay, unless I'm only just over 5 foot. So big stride apart with the feet. If you've got long legs, wider you go, the easier the standing poses where we've got this stride would be for you. Okay, it's not to do with your flexibility. This is just to do with the height, okay, proportion. Now, watching the balance, we're going to draw the heels slightly inward. So the feet are pointing outward. Okay, we're looking at goddess or victory pose to start off with. Now, this is a symmetrical posture, and most of us are not symmetrical with our flexibilities. So one side may inhibit you from going low down, okay? Doesn't matter, we just got to think about how stiff you are. So if you know the inside of the hips here, when, say, you sit cross-legged on the floor, this is lateral rotation at the hip. If you're tight for that sort of movement, we won't be able to go down potentially too low. And also, the turnout with the feet would not be quite so dramatic for those people that are tight. Okay, so if you just bring the arms forward to give you a bit of stability, we're going to bend the knees like a squat or a plie, if you like. And what you want to think about is the knees following the toes. So if you've turned the heels in too much and the knees are coming forward like this, but you see my feet are turned out too far, I start rolling onto the inner edges of the feet. We don't want that. You would then turn the feet slightly further forward, and this would give you a better position. For those that are looser and your knees turn outward like this, then you can afford to have the feet turning out too. Okay? So coming down to your level and holding that position. I've got the arms forward for a bit of stability. Now, earlier we did pelvic tilts while we were on the mat, lying down. Okay, so this is posterior tilt we want now, where the top of the pelvis is tipping back. So we're tucking the tailbone under. So we're working through the abs. You can feel the work here inside of the legs, potentially hips too, and the buttocks. Now, buttocks are working hard to keep you in this position, as well as the quads and the hamstrings underneath the legs, all of which you may already feel. If I hold it too long for you anytime, you come up, okay? So we're all going to come up now. Take a little breather. Okay, so that takes care of the legs. I'm just going to do that from the side. We're going to do it one more time. All right, so bring the arms forward, and we're tightening up through the abs to draw the tailbone under, and then we're tucking under still as we squat down. Okay, you can see the back is aiming to be quite normal, flat, not sticking out like so. Okay, we're tucking that underneath. Heart rate might be elevating too because you've got the arms raised. And then we come up, just take a little rest together and paddle out through the legs. Okay, so that takes care of the legs. We're going to do the arms separately to start with. So I'd like to take the arms out to the sides. Now we're stretching to the fingertips. And we want to try and stretch the shoulder blades also apart, rather than squeeze in together like this and we start hunching the shoulders. We're reaching apart. Bend at the elbow. Palms are facing forward. You can spread the fingers. Elbow at shoulder height, hopefully. And breathe. If it gets too much here, you could just bring the hands together, prayer position here, or forward as I did before. Okay, so that would be the optimum. The elbows are pushing back, but we're not squeezing the shoulder blades together. We're pushing the elbows apart. And then it activates under here, around the side of the ribs, and stretches between the shoulder blades as well. Great. Okay, bring the arms down. Now we're going to try that both areas together. So you're taking your wide stride apart. We draw the heels in appropriately for you. Taking the arms wide as you bend the knees, bend the elbows. This is our goddess, victory pose. And breathe. Smiling's also good. I always say that. It makes things feel a little bit easier. One more breath. And then inhale, we stretch it out. We're going to do that one more time. Exhale. Maybe going a little bit lower. So really good for strengthening lower body. All of the standing posture is good for strengthening lower body. And as I've been saying all of this week, then really that's what we want, is strengthen the lower body to transport us around into our old age. Inhale, stretch it out and relax the arms. Well done. Step together, paddle out through the legs. You can roll out through the shoulders. Do whatever you feel need to, just to loosen off. Okay, so now we're going to look at Virabhadrasana 2, which is Warrior 2. Classic yoga pose. You must have seen this 1,000 times, you know, on magazines and whatnot. And we're going to take a nice big stride apart again. Now, once we've got that stride apart, easy way to think about, have I got my feet wide enough apart? If you take the arms wide and we're extending the wrists like this, think about this distance between the palms should roughly be the gap between your feet, outer edges, okay? So there's no point, even at my height, taking a gap like this, because that's not wide enough, okay? So longer legs, bigger stride. Okay, now I'm going to turn to this side to start off with. So the front foot, if I turn the heel in, so my foot is following the line of the mat. Again, I'm spreading out those toes. My foot is flat. And I look back towards the back foot. Realistically, the outer edge of the back foot parallel with the short end of the mat. Or you could turn the toes in if you have that sort of flexibility, but not everybody does. But that would be a minimum parallel with the end. We don't want the foot turning out because it's very wobbly. Okay. Now, the gap between the positioning front foot to back foot, that's really what you want to pay attention to. So imagine my legs are apart, but I'm going to bring them together now. I had my foot like this, front foot turning out towards the sort of big toe ball joint of my back foot, because this hip for me is my stiff hip. So better that my foot is further forward. If this isn't a stiff hip for you, you want the foot back towards the instep or anywhere along that line. Okay, so toe and instep, but with the stride. Okay. Now the hips, the pelvis is upright at the moment, and obviously the pelvis will turn, particularly as we bend this front knee in a moment. Now what I want to pay attention to is the chest. So if I look down at the chest, level with the long edge of the mat. Okay. Now keep the hands on the pelvis to start off with, and I'd like you to bend through the front knee. So we're coming into a lunge. This leg is working hard. And obviously this leg is working hard too, because now we have a bent knee. We're working front and back of the leg to stabilize. Okay. What I don't want to do is start turning the whole body towards the front knee. If my pelvis turns towards the front knee, my chest can still face the long edge of the mat. Okay. Keep breathing. Good. Okay, straighten through the leg. We'll try that on the other side. Now, this hip for me is not stiff. Could be the same for you. Okay, so we're positioning that front foot where you think you need it, instep or toes, somewhere along that line. Still with the wide stride, obviously still upright, bending through the front knee. Pelvis is still in the upright position here. I'm not leaning over towards the front knee. I'm not turning towards the front knee, apart from with my pelvis, but I'm not made of a block of wood, so my chest can still face that long edge. And breathe. Just hold that, spread the toes. Good, good. Now, this might not be the maximum drop yet for those that are stronger and more flexible. Okay, and we're coming out. Okay, let's go back to the first side, and we're going to add in the arms. Okay, so as before, we're thinking about the width. If I'm not wide enough apart, then I get this sort of thing going on. It's not very stable, so we definitely want that wide stride. If you think you could go a bit lower without the pelvis tipping towards that front edge, okay, you could wriggle that front foot further forward. You go deeper down into your warrior two. Pelvis is still upright here, chest facing the long edge. Let's take out the arms. So I'm reaching into the fingertips. They're not just sort of like hanging there. I'm stretching. No hunching of the shoulders. Check the chest is still facing that long edge. And then turn the chin. Looking along middle finger, front hand. And breathe. When you're not looking at it, the back arm sometimes wants to wander off somewhere. So just maybe check that. Check you haven't lost a foot. And then look forward again. And then release the arms and straighten through the legs. Okay, let's try the other side. Now, these are stamina poses because we're using a lot of large muscles here, lower body particularly. Okay, so if this is easier this side or harder this side, you adjust for you. As before, arms wide when you're ready. Looking along middle finger, front hand. If you're not sure, at any point, just recheck everything. And breathe. If you feel comfortable, you could go a bit wider, a bit lower. No lean. Thinking of that nice straight line from the crown of the head down to the tailbone. And release. Well done. Step together. Now, with any standing pose, well, any pose really, but lots of standing postures have a whole list of alignment points. And it's a lot to sort of take in if you're not, familiar with it. So I don't tend to give too many in one go because lots of people will get quite a few of them straight away. Other things need to be checked, and the one that really has to be checked is what the knee is doing. Okay, this is a hip opening posture, and the point is to get that lateral rotation of the femur in the pelvis. So we're opening out with that front knee, okay? So there is no point in going wider, lower, if you can't do that, because then we've sort of lost the point of the pose. We start sticking the bottom out because we're going too low. Everything gets lost, okay? So I'm going to do this side on, and we're going to do it again and pay attention to the front knee. So same alignment points as before. Take that wide stride apart with your feet. I'm going to turn out towards the camera so that you can see me. Okay, so my chest facing the long edge of my mat now. I'm using the purple mat here, and I'm going as wide and as low as I would normally go. Stretching out with the arms, and I'm looking forward along the middle finger, front hand. I'm working the abs. Now, the thing that I need to think about is this knee at the front rolling in? You can see I'm doing that now. We want the knee to be in line with the foot. And this is why the pelvis may turn if you're tighter like that, but we don't necessarily need the chest to do the same. Otherwise we get a staggered shoulder. Okay, so we're spreading the toes, pushing the knee out, and this works here, outer part of the buttock to abduct the leg. So make sure you're working here, and then we can feel that. Nice and strong with the back leg. and breathe. Excellent. Okay, and release. Paddle out the legs. Let's do that on the other side. I'm turning around just so I can point out what I'm doing with my knee. Now, I mentioned this is my stiffer hip. So to make sure that knee comes out, I adjust that foot. So you can really see, if I didn't adjust the foot in the right place, if it was back there to push the knee out, then I start turning the whole body and it becomes a different thing altogether. That's why I've got my foot in line with my toes, so I can push the knee out and I'm still in my Virabhadrasana too. Keep breathing. As I say, anytime I hold it too long for you, you take a rest when you need to. And release. Very good. Okay, paddling out through the legs. Okay, so we often use Warrior 2 as a starting point for Parshvakonasana, lateral angle pose. Okay, because the feet, the position of the feet, the position of the body to start with is the same. And then we're taking it into a side bend as well as a twist. And it's the twisting aspect, so the rotation, that people tend to forget when they do it, particularly if you've just, if you maybe not been to class or not been corrected, then if you just look at it in a magazine or a book, then it just looks like it's a side stretch, which it is, but it's the twist as well that is really important, and that's what makes it quite strong. Okay, so the best advice I could give you is, if you know the twist part is difficult, as it is for me, okay, then don't go so low. Also, proportion, as always, can play a part with this. So I've got a long body and shorter arms and legs. So I never touch the floor when I do this pose, as you would see it done in a magazine or a book. Clearly, they're going to pick someone who has the right proportions to do that. Okay, so if you are not touching the floor, it's not wrong. Okay, and you could use a brick. Okay, if you want to. So I'm going to have that in front here so I can show you how to use that if you like, because sometimes the brick is useful if you're not touching the floor, for those that are going low enough to almost touch the floor, if you're not so strong in the core or the legs, so you can really hold your position. Okay, so let's go wide again like we did for Warrior 2. A nice wide stride. Now, the thing with Parshvakonasana, because we're going down towards the front leg, so we are tilting the pelvis in this pose, then if you go very low and you haven't taken a wide enough stride, then we, get in all sorts of scrunch positions, or we overshoot the knee at the front, and then it's not stable. So the lower you go, the wider the stride needs to be. Okay. Now, to start off with, we're going to bring the arms down to give the arms a rest. And we're going to just practice what we're doing, or what we should be doing, with the pelvis. Okay, so at the moment, the pelvis is in this upright position, and we're going to take it over towards the bent knee. Okay, so as you breathe out, I want you to sink into that front knee, and then think about bringing your body in line with that back leg. Inhale, we come back, but we don't straighten out the leg. Okay, so exhale, we sink. Inhale, we come back. Good, good. One more. Exhale. And inhale. Lovely. Now we're going to exhale over, and we're going to hold that position. The lower arm, what is the lower arm now? Have it inside of the leg, and we're using that arm to push the knee outward. If that happens to be a good point for you to put your finger on the brick, you could help yourself to hold there. Think about the top shoulder now, rotating back. So this is a twisting aspect. Keep this leg really strong. You can feel how hard it is. Now, if you're looser than that, you may be able to go deeper like this and still rotate back. That would be my maximum, because I can't touch the floor. But if you can touch the floor and rotate back, then do. Don't forget to breathe. Marvelous. Inhale, we come back. warrior two. Okay, let's try that on the other side. So I'll put the brick on the other side. So nice warrior two. Bring the hands to the pelvis. Okay, so remember we're just leaning the pelvis over. So exhale, bringing yourself in line with the back leg. And inhale. So push down into the front foot to bring your pelvis back up. So this works the quads and the hamstrings quite hard on the front leg. Hold the position now. Now the lower arm inside of the leg. Again, you could use the brick here if that's suitable. And we're rotating this top shoulder back. So we're squeezing the abs. Again, if you wanted to go lower, you could do. Remember to wriggle that front foot further forward if you haven't gone wide enough. You can look down. Is there a vertical shin? Don't lose the back foot. Inhale, back to warrior two. Good. Okay. Step together, paddle out through the legs. Okay. Now, if we're just standing nice and tall, just moving my mic pack because I didn't put a belt on today because it was getting in the way when I was doing these poses. Okay. So if we stand nice and tall, arms wide, we come from our warrior two arm here. And then what actually happens is one arm goes down and the other arm reaches up. So if we do that, you can feel it lengthens through one side of the ribs. So we're stretching it right up to the ceiling in this case. And it opens out. And I've got my arm maybe alongside my head. If your arm won't go that high, maybe it's here, that isn't wrong, okay? Or maybe it's more forward. But you can definitely feel that it's lifted. What we don't want to do is start a bend going on in the spine and dangling the head. And definitely not if we're taking the arm over like this. Okay, so let's try that on the other side. So this arm is down. This arm alongside the head or somewhere that we can reach up. You can feel how it opens out through the ribs. Okay, and that's the feeling, but we'll be on the side, which is why it makes it harder. And bring the arm down because you've got gravity literally wanting to just collapse you down towards the floor. Okay, so let's go to the other side first this time. So we're going this side. We're in our warrior two. Okay, so as we come into Parshva, we're taking the arms as well. We're bringing the front arm down inside of the leg, with or without the brick. You can see the angle of the body is in line with the back leg. And then the top arm is going to come over next to the ear. Now, not everyone's shoulder likes that, so you could circle it round in front and bring it alongside the head. Now, currently, my chest is tipping forward a little bit too much, so I push against this arm and rotate away from the floor. Lengthen that arm. Don't let it sort of dangle over like this with your head. Look past the armpit on the upper arm towards the ceiling. Inhale, we come back, warrior two. Fantastic. And release the arms down. Okay, other side. Same thing. Warrior two. So we might want to wriggle a bit wider as you go lower. We're tilting the pelvis, lower arm down, back arm reaching. Remember, you can circle it if it won't go that way. And then use the resistance of the back of the arm to rotate the chest towards the ceiling. Really lengthen. Inhale, we're coming up. And release. Fabulous. Step together. Paddle out through the legs. Okay. So we're going to go back to our warrior two. You're going to be dreaming about this one now. Okay. Now, if we want to do reverse warrior, really it's a stretch into the front side of the body now. Okay, and this, well, the bent knee side of the body. And the habit this time is as people go back, they start straightening out the front leg. We don't want that. Okay, this time we are lengthening out through the obliques and we're working the muscles in the back. Okay, quadratus lumborum in particular. So we're here, warrior two. So if we come back to that, checking your alignment points there, particularly the back foot. And then we're going to take the back hand down onto the leg. Now, a little tip is don't do both arms together. We want to slide this hand down the leg. So already you can feel this is contracting and this is lengthening. Then to lengthen it even more, front palm, turn it upward and then reach up to the ceiling and then over towards your head. And breathe. Again, look past the upper arm towards the ceiling. Don't let the head loll about. Inhale, we come back. Warrior two. Marvelous. Let's do that on the other side. Okay, basic warrior two. Ready for reverse warrior. So back arm, hand onto the leg. Slide that hand down. Maybe you've got a bit more stretch on this side. Front palm, turn it upward. Reach it for the ceiling. Feel that lift. And then the extra stretch as you bring it over. Inhale, warrior two. And release the arms down. Fabulous. Okay. Step together. Little rest out. Paddle out through the legs. So a bit like, for those that know Trikonasana, okay, I like to do Trikonasana one arm then the other so that we don't get that whole collapsing of the spine. We're getting the lift and the stretch. It's a different feeling altogether as we do our reverse warrior. So we're going to do that once more on each side from the static position of warrior two. Okay, so now we've warmed up a bit. You may feel a bit more flexible. You could go a little bit wider, a bit lower maybe. So hand down at the back, slide it along the leg, turn the front palm up. Inhale, reach up and over. And once you're there, this back hand, I can feel the back of my knee. I wriggle that hand a little bit further down. On the inhalation, rising. Lovely. Other side. Virabhadrasana 2. And then back hand down, slide, walk the fingers, front palm up and reach and over. Maybe you can wriggle it down a bit more. You can feel the muscles working in this back leg. Inhale, we're coming up. Nice. And release the arms. Well done. Paddle out through the legs. Now, there's a special treat today. I say treat, it's my little joke. We're going to do a little flow. So we're going to use our 3 postures that we've done, warrior 2, reverse warrior and Parshvakonasana, our lateral angle pose, together to do a little flow with the breath. Okay, I don't do these very often in the regular classes, in the yoga for all classes, but it's nice just to get that feeling of you're checking your movement as you go in and out of with the breath. Okay, so biggest thing I can say to you is make sure that each time you come back to this position, you just pause before you go to the next one. It's not a rush. Okay, and if you get lost with the breath, just breathe. It doesn't matter as long as you're breathing. I don't want anybody holding the breath. Okay, so starting off warrior 2. Looking along, middle finger, front hand. The gaze for the other 2 is underneath and up towards the ceiling of the back arm. Okay, so nice breath in. As you exhale, reverse warrior. Back arm down. Inhale, reach it up. And exhale. Inhale, warrior 2. Exhale, Parshvak. Sink into front knee. Top arm up and over. Breathe. Inhale, warrior two. Exhale, reverse warrior. One breath here. Inhale, warrior two. Forward to Parshvak, exhale. One breath here. Back to warrior two, inhale. And release. Lovely. Okay, step together. And do last time on the other side. Make it a bit looser now, maybe you can get a little bit deeper. So, Virabhadrasana 2. Nice breath in. Exhale, reverse warrior, back arm down and reach it up. One breath. Inhale, warrior two. Exhale, Parshvak. One breath. Remember the rotation. Inhale, warrior two. Exhale, reverse. One breath. Virabhadrasana 2. Parshvak. One breath. Return to center. Inhale. And release. Fantastic. Come together. Paddle out. Okay, so we're going to come down to the mat now. Just stretch out a little bit into a couple of twists. So if you do have a block that you can sit on, like this, then do. If you don't have something like that, you can have a folded mat or blanket, cushion, anything that's going to make it easier for you to sit nice and tall with the legs crossed. Okay, so it doesn't matter which leg that we're crossing in front. We've warmed up the hips a fair bit now and the legs. It may be easier for you to sit tall anyway like this. But if the knees are up, push the feet further forward, otherwise it feels very strong on the ankles, and bring the knees closer in together. So you can really work on lifting through the chest and lengthening the spine. For those that are looser, your knees will drop down anyway. You can take the knees as wide as you're comfortable, okay, with the feet lined up maybe in the center of the body. And just take a breath. Okay, so the hand that matches the front leg, I would like you to take that behind you. And then the other hand, bring it across to the outside of that front leg. So again, we're going to do a twist, a rotation towards the back hand. Because we've done a few twists already, you may feel a bit looser. On the inhalation, we come back. And then we change over with the legs. So the other leg is the one in front. The reason we do that is to try and keep the pelvis in the middle position. Okay, so hand that matches the front leg behind, and the other arm coming across again into our twist. One side, as always, may feel very different to the other. And inhale, we're coming back. Okay, we're going to lie down on our backs now. We just check the time for our last twist lying down. And then we're going to go to relaxation. So have any tops, socks and blankets nearby so that you can slip those on once we've done these twists. I'll give you a moment to settle yourself down, grab anything that you need. So I've got the soles of the feet on the floor, about hip distance apart, maybe a little bit wider. Just taking a few breaths to let the back relax, and the standing work, there's a lot of work goes on in your whole body. And we're just trying to let that work go. Take the arms out wide, upward. And then as we did right at the beginning, we're going to drop the knees over to the right. May feel a bit looser now. Now, because we've worked hard already, we can take this warm-up stretch to be a little bit stronger. I never do these in the warm-up because people like me with a dodgy back, it can be very strong. So right ankle, I'd like you to place it on top of left knee now. And that gives a little bit of pressure down with that left leg. If it doesn't feel right, you can take the foot back to the floor and breathe. Releasing the ankle. Inhale, knees to center. And then we repeat other side. Drop the knees to the left. Sink into that. If it feels okay. Left ankle taken on top of the right thigh or knee. And it applies a bit of pressure. See how it feels this side. Again, if it's too much, put the foot back to the floor. I hope you can't hear my stomach rumbling. And releasing the ankle. Inhale to center. Very good. Okay, bring the knees up to the chest. Just a little rock side to side as I'm doing, just to settle the lower back into the floor. And then bring the hands onto the knees. Now you can have the front of the knee here if that feels all right for the bend in the knee. If not, tuck the hands underneath the backs of the knees. I've got the knees well apart. I'm going to take a breath in. And as I breathe out, pull the knees towards the chest. If you want extra, round the head up. Look towards the toes. Keep the shoulders down. Inhale back to the floor. Let the knees go away. Exhale, rounding up. Inhale back to the floor. Last one, exhale. Inhale back to the floor. Well done. Place the feet down. Now you can put on socks, tops, blanket, whatever you need. And then we're adopting a nice relaxed position. So Shavasana is corpse pose. We've got a gap between the legs and a gap between the arms and the sides of the body. Making sure the shoulders are down away from the head. And tuck in the chin. Closing your eyes. And again, just focus on your breath. Heart rate settling as you relax into the pause once again between the breaths. Be aware of the contact between the back of your body and the mat or the floor. Allowing yourself to sink down, really cultivating a feeling of heaviness in the body. Letting go. So the back of the head is heavy as you soften through the face, particularly around the eyes, through the jaw. Back of the neck is long. Shoulders and arms sink down. Buttocks are relaxed and the long thigh muscles easing off now as the legs become heavy. Softening all the way to the heels, right to the toes. And next time you breathe in, really lift the arms up to the ceiling, exhaling them over the head. Bring the legs together. We're going to take a nice stretch like we did at the beginning. Point the toes, lengthen, and release. Bending the knees, slowly hugging the knees up. Little rock, side to side. Now if you come to center and just take the right arm more or less alongside the head and just roll onto your right side, resting there. You can use the right arm as a pillow. Take a few breaths. And then slowly coming up to sitting. Sitting nice and tall. Again, you could use your supports if you need. Nice long spine, fingertips either side, shoulders back. Deep breath in now, reaching wide and up. Palms together, exhale to heart center. Namaste. Well done, that was great work. Hopefully you can join me next week, same time. I'm here at 10 o'clock. As I say, a little reminder, just down below the screen there's a subscribe button there, so you could click that so that you won't miss any. Also, remember you can watch this again. If you're subscribed, you can watch it on the as a video, which means that you can stop it at any point and repeat the little things that you need to practice. That's a really good little plan to do that. So hopefully I'll see you next week. Thank you very much for joining me, and have a good day.